my name is Justin Myrick. I am a visual effects artist and a multimedia designer, you could say. So who here, let's just get like a show of hands, right? Who here knows what visual effects is? Just raise your hands. Okay, 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 all right, all right. Who here likes filmmaking? Okay, okay, okay. Who here likes TV commercials? Raise your, I'm going somewhere. I'm going somewhere with this. Just follow me. Just follow me. Really? That's it? Dang, I thought more of y'all. Okay, so here's why I'm asking this. Because visual effects can apply to pretty much TV commercials, films, short videos, photography, pretty much any post-production work. And so here's what I've done. Wow, where to start? So I worked on the Target and Marvel Wakanda Forever commercial. So pretty much, you might have seen it. It was where Riri, she was walking into the Target store, and you've got the little girl, she's drawing on like the notebook, and she's like, oh, what do you have there? So I did about 4 shots for that, which was really, really cool to do. So I did about 4 shots for that commercial. There was the Nike World Cup ad with Ronaldinho and Mbappe. So I pretty much worked on that, and that got me mentioned in adage.com, which was pretty cool. I didn't even really know what adage was. I had to tell my mom because I was like driving across the country, and I texted. I said, "Oh, I mentioned like adage.com," and she called me. And it's serious when like you text her, but she calls you, and I was like, "Oh, I must have done something." And she was like, "Justin." I was like, what? And she's like, Justin, you don't know. And I was like, what, Mom, what? What's wrong? She's like, Justin. I was like, okay, all right, this is a big deal. And so there's also the Temu Super Bowl commercial that came out this past year, which was really cool. So, to see something that you worked on, and then you see like Rihanna perform right after that. Like, I love Rihanna. I don't know how you feel about her, but we all good with Rihanna over here. And so to see your commercial play in like the same Super Bowl, it's awesome. There's also a couple of AT&T commercials that I worked on, a couple of Indeed commercials. What else? There's like a Domino's Pizza ad I can't find, but I want to fight Domino's Pizza afterward. And there's also an AutoZone commercial I recently found online. It's got about 11 million views, which is weird because like I completely forgot that I did it. And then I'm like watching, I was like, holy crap, that's something I worked on. And then I saw like 11 million views. I was like, no way. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. So yeah, I'm a VisFX compositor. So let's, because I just want to be specific, because when you talk about VisFX, there's so many different ways you can break it down. So you've got, of course, there's a pre-production, there's a principal photography, and then there's a post-production, which is where I was. So like when someone says, we'll fix it in post, that was my problem. So just be conscious when you guys say, we'll fix it in post, just know there might be someone who wants to fight you. They either want to fight you or thank you. But just be careful about that when you say we'll fix it in post. But there's also a lot of things VisFX can apply to that's not just like green screen, all right? So there's also the CG, which is, I guess, when someone had to make Thanos, right? Let's just use Thanos. He might irritate you, he irritated me, but that's how you know it was a good character, right? If you can look past the fact that he's like big and purple and be like, I don't like him. All right, so of course there's a whole slew of artists that went into making just that one character. And then there's also a whole entire concentration and a whole slew of artists that went into actually putting him into the footage. And so that's what I was doing. I was a VisFX compositor, AKA a miracle worker. We're like at the very, very end of the pipeline, but they're also extremely important. It's an extremely important role that really should not be overlooked. So with that, also, a little bit more about me and how I got into visual effects. I first started out acting. As you know, I'm a SAG-AFTRA TV and film actor, so we're still on strike. So we're still on strike. But yeah, so I was always content creating, doing stuff for my YouTube channel, and so which is what led me into, I got like my first After Effects subscription, and it was pretty much taken off the ground from there. And so I originally went to college. Holy crap, yeah. I went to college, long story by itself, but I went to SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design. Anybody know SCAD? Yeah. Oh. Hey, Hey, what's up, y'all? Hey, so I went to SCAD, which was cool, but I originally went for like TV directing and like film producing. And at that point, I was just like, okay, it's okay. It was like kind of mid. I was like, it's something to do. But I wasn't really like passionate about it. And so I was talking with like my mom and one of my professors, and I showed him, I was like, yeah, there's like this thing with like the green screen I did. And he was like, oh, it's like a whole major for what you just showed me. And I was like, like, really? There's like a whole concentration and a career path for what you want to do. And I was like, you serious? I was like, I can make money doing this? And he was like, yeah. So I switched my major rather quickly for the third time. And so after that, I pretty much, was going down like the VisFX route. This was around the time, it was pretty much when COVID happened, which was like an interesting time to change a major at an art college. But it was fun. I had a lot of fun. I met some incredibly talented people, which is another thing that I will say, given that some of y'all might be going to college. Make sure you get in with the right group of people, the right crowd. Because listen, it'll be a night and day difference. Like some people will lift you up, others will bring you down. I'm just gonna say that right now. So definitely fell in with like the right group of people. They were working on a bunch of dope projects. I also worked on like a college Emmy nominated film called The Pope's Dog. That was really cool. I didn't even like intend to work on it. I originally wanted to work on like a Star Wars fan film. And I reached out to the wrong person, but he was like, I don't know anything about a Star Wars film, but there's this other film I'm doing. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And like later on, it went on to get nominated for a college Emmy. So that was awesome to be a part of, awesome to have on my demo reel. Come on now, let's be honest. And so, yeah, but that's pretty much how I got into visual effects. Because it's not something that you just like wake up and you're like, hey, I want to be a visual effects compositor. Like no one thinks like that. No one wakes up and does that. Everyone wants to be like an influencer these days. So do I. Yeah, so any questions? Mm-hmm. Thank you for asking that. I use Nuke. I'm a Nuke compositor by trade. Who here knows what Nuke is? Okay, honestly, that makes a lot of sense. Like, knowing Nuke, that makes a lot of sense. It's a node-based software. So, who here knows what After Effects is? All right, yep, that makes a lot of sense too. So pretty much, Nuke was like one of like, I guess the first visual effects compositing packages out there. There's Flame, which is like Nuke's granddaddy. And if you know Flame, you know it's different. Like they had like, because I was talking to like my professor, like Gray Marshall, he's like awesome. If you ever have the chance to like talk with him, he's chill. He's like the dean. He's like one of like our department chairs, but he would just like walk around while we were doing homework. And I was like doing homework and I was like, what are you doing here? Like this isn't for you. But he was super chill. But he was saying like Flame, they had like a whole workstation for Flame. I was like, oh, it's that type of software. And he was like, yeah, it's that type of software. I was like, huh, okay. All right, but yeah, there's After Effects, there's Nuke. I also know Blender, Houdini, Maya, Unreal 4.2 and 4.26, 5.1. Because I wasn't just doing like compositing, I was also really getting into like 3D and exploring that. So I actually have one of my projects, like a sound animation on the Side Effects gallery, and Side Effects is the company that makes Houdini, and so you actually have to get your project approved by them to go onto their gallery, which was really cool. I felt like I'd made it. I felt like I was famous, to be honest. When I saw it on the Side Effects gallery, I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, those are just some of the softwares I know. Of course, there's like Photoshop and Premiere and Media Encoder. I'm gonna fight Media Encoder. Right, but yeah, so those are some of the softwares I know. Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite and most challenging VFX project that you've worked on?
Ooh, one of my most challenging visual effects projects. Probably there was this Dodge Super Bowl commercial that we were supposed to be working on. I don't think it got approved just because of the time length of the commercial, but they wanted a lot. They wanted like a lot within a short amount of time. So they wanted, the whole kit and caboodle, pretty much. And I was like, well, within a week, huh? And I was talking to like one of the supervisors on the project, and he was like, oh, like I'm a senior, and this is pretty advanced for me, but here you go. And I was like, listen, y'all, I was sitting in the Zoom call, I was like, I'm a junior, and if a senior is telling me this is advanced, but here you go, I was like, all right. Yeah, so that was definitely one of the more advanced one of the more frustrating ones. But I'd also say the Wakanda Forever project too, because that was huge. I was like right out of college. I actually got hired out at the frame store in Los Angeles, California before I graduated. So that was like a huge shift because you're from Spartanburg, South Carolina. You're used to being like around your friends and family all the time, and then like right after you graduate, you like dip out to the other side of the country where it's like opposite day every day. Trust me, I got stories about living in LA. But yeah, no, so that was like a really cool project to be on. And plus, I was like super excited because I was the first one they brought on. He was like, oh, like I was pretty much like the only compositor that they had in the Zoom meeting. He was like, oh, well, like, welcome to Wakanda. And I was like, do not scream. I'm like, if you scream right now, this will look so unprofessional. Do not scream in front of this man. And so like the minute I like cut the camera off, I just like screamed, like ran around my apartment like a madman. And then I called my mom. I was like, you won't believe it. She's like, what? I was like, you won't believe it. So that was also really cool to be a part of it, like from the very start to the very finish, And they don't tell you when your project's gonna air. So you're just like sitting there chilling, eating your Doritos, whatever unhealthy foods you want to put in your body. And you just pretty much, you're like, holy crap, I worked on that. I did that. You have like that little moment. That was also like that with an ESPN job I did. Because we worked on it, I think like the week before Thanksgiving. And I was like, oh, all right, we did that, wrapped up something for ESPN. And then I'm like in New York with my family because my grandparents live in New Jersey. So shout out to like North Bergen, Hudson County. And so I was just like up there watching TV and I was like, hey, I know that. I just don't know. You have like that like moment where you just like short circuit. Yeah, but I'd say probably the Wakanda Forever was one of the more challenging ones in a lot of ways, but also really, really cool, really rewarding. Thank you.
If we have students who are wanting to get into your career field, what program would you suggest starting first? Or like which one is like the industry moving towards?
It depends on which field they want to go into. So if they want to go into CG and be like a CG artist, then I would say learning Maya, Houdini, Blender's being used for like a lot of stuff. That's just because Homegirl's free, Blender's free. So definitely Maya is an industry standard, Houdini. If you want to do a lot of like simulations and particles, definitely Houdini. But the thing is, a lot of these VisFX softwares are incredibly expensive. I've looked into like getting the licenses for myself. I know one license for Nuke might be like $3,200 per year. I saw one license for Houdini was like $7,000 per year. Flame, I think if you want to buy like a 3-year or perpetual license, it's like $14,000. Exactly. Yes, goodness gracious. Like all of our bank accounts just got scared, right? But it's expensive. So if you really want to start, you can start with After Effects. It's very powerful. There's a lot you can learn in it. And then from there, you can like jump up to something like Nuke. But I will say, a layer-based program and like a node-based program are night and day. And a node-based program is scary. Because I went from like a layer-based to a node-based and I was like, holy crap. I was like, shut the computer off and I like went to bed. Yeah, so I guess those are some of the programs you want to start with.
What were those free programs again?
There were free programs?
Oh, did you mention Blender?
Yes, Blender is free, but that's a 3D program. It can do a lot. You can composite in it, but it's not like a hardcore compositor, but you can key and track in it. So you can do a lot with Blender. You can do a lot with Blender these days. Any other questions? Any other questions? Because I'm gonna, oh, where?
About how much time do they give you in post-production?
No time. Well, the thing is though, that's also because I was working in commercials. So I was in the frame store's commercial department where you don't get as much time, because the nature of commercials, they move very, very quickly. They want perfection right then and there. Whereas with film, you have a little more time to like finesse and like refine things. So we might have gotten a week, 2 weeks, maybe. If we had 2 weeks, and that was like a usually normal good time frame. If we had like maybe 3 weeks, that was a good thing, but also like really unseen. I know the Apple commercial, they wanted that in like 2 weeks when like the 14 came out, which was like trippy to think, because we had to work on like a whole a whole like black site server. It was like its own thing because you're seeing the phone like every day for like last 2 or 3 weeks, and then like everyone's speculating about what it looks like, and you're like there working on it and like touching it up and editing it, and you're like, huh, all right, it's an iPhone. And then you're seeing online, whoa, what does this iPhone look like? And I was like, I could tell you. Yeah, so pretty much about 2 or 3 weeks, that is one thing. If you do go into commercials, just be prepared to work very, very quickly. Be as efficient as possible, I would say. But also be prepared to work in a team. You won't be doing this by yourself. So if you know you are not a team player, then you might want to just pick a different career field.
So then, how are those shots like organized between?
Usually there's like a supervisor, and so they'll bring in a team of people. And the way that we kind of did it was that we have like certain shots where someone would be like, all right, this is your shot from start to finish. Sometimes they would take someone off a shot and sort of like switch out. Just for like project management, somebody was booked for like another project in this day, so you'll work like maybe 3 days on this, jump off and work for like another 2 days on like another project. So that's another thing, be prepared, just be interchangeable. But yeah, pretty much like a team. A lot of people were not interchangeable, but it was just, I'd say sometimes it was task driven. I was really good at like rotoscoping. So they were like, okay, we only want you to come in, like for what I did with like Cricut Wireless and Meta, they were like, okay, we only want you to come in and rotoscope like, these 2 shots right here. And then after that, we roto this out and you send it to somebody else who's comping it in. So it might also be just like task based too. And before I leave, also, I will be doing a full like seminar workshop thingy tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. on visual effects. So if you do want to come and listen to me chat for like a full hour with a whole PowerPoint, and it's a big PowerPoint too, y'all. I made sure it was like a big PowerPoint. So if you want to come see me tomorrow, 3:30 p.m., just putting that out there.